America has a flat. The car's okay, but we have a flat. When you have a flat, you fix it. You don't just drive around for 4 more years and hope it gets better.
The wisdom of Senator John Kennedy. It's absolutely brilliant. He gets it right. Oh, John Kennedy. I love saying Senator John Kennedy because it drives the Democrats crazy when they realize he's a Republican. It is the Chris Plante Show. Welcome to the Chris Plante Show. Chris is out today. He returns tomorrow to kick off your Friday and your weekend. My name is Mike Opelka. I've been here before. Happy to be back in for my buddy. Yeah, Senator Kennedy was on Fox News the other day giving his analysis of the current state of the country and the political campaigns that are going on. And he talked very frankly, as he does, plain speaking, as he is common, used to be doing in front of cameras, etc. And his analysis of Kamala Harris's record is flat out spot on accurate.
Unless you do your research on Twitter, you know that Ms. Harris's record on inflation and crime and the economy and the border and national security and national defense sucks. That's why she distorts and attempts to distract.
He's right. He is correct. And yesterday, Kamala Harris was speechifying in New Hampshire in an effort to distract and distort. And she was in a place that Democrats are used to winning. So the question has to be why? Why are Democrats campaigning in New Hampshire? Why is she even there? I'm not sure. I'm not sure she knows. She's just going where they tell her to go. And she's very capable of reading teleprompters. It's one of those great skills she has. And when you compare it to Joe, it's night and day. So it's no wonder that her numbers overall are higher than Joe's when it comes to favorability. Even Joe's numbers are going up because he isn't out there, and he won't be back out there much anymore. Not after the performance this week. Not after the Molly Maguire story. What in the heck was that? But getting back to Kamala Harris in New Hampshire, there was a very excited crowd there to see her yesterday. And I swear there is a cheerleader in the crowd. After she delivers a line, there is a choreographed scream from somebody in the audience. And it's as if that person has the script from the teleprompter and ready to go. I thought it was pretty apparent. She was speaking yesterday and had said something during the discussion of abortion, because she is now going to try and sell abortion. Why is the Democrat campaign going to be focused on abortion? Because they can't focus on the economy. The economy is in such disarray when it comes to the average person. There's just not going to be any chance for the Democrats to turn it around between now and Election Day or even early voting in order to say, yeah, we got this. No, you don't. Inflation is still double what it was under Donald Trump. Almost double. Okay. We get a jobs report tomorrow. There are some questions about that. Some concerns about construction numbers. We'll see. Stock market's been pretty shaky in this first week of September. And even CNN appears to be panicking. And I'll get to some of Kamala, but here's a little bit of the CNN panic.
If you look at the white voters without college degrees, this is a Trump-based constituency, obviously. You see his huge numbers with this group.
Now, this is David Chalian on CNN, and he's looking at Donald Trump's numbers with white, non-college likely voters. Georgia, Trump's up 71-27. Arizona, Trump's up 65-31. Nevada, Trump's up 65-31. Pennsylvania, critical state, Trump's up 63-31. Michigan, Trump's up 53-36 in Michigan. Democrats think that that's their spot. Wisconsin, which is another swing state that Democrats think they've got this locked up. Trump is up 54-41%. This is a CNN poll of non-white college likely voters. CNN's nervous.
You see that this is a trouble sign for Harris. She also, in a place like Georgia, is not doing well with white college-educated voters. She probably wants to make up some ground with white college-educated voters across these battlegrounds as well, Kate.
An important gut check for both campaigns and on multiple levels in multiple states is what's coming out here. It's great to see you, David. Thank you.
Should she really be saying gut check to David Chalian? I'm just saying that's kind of rude. He's kind of a big guy. But the numbers don't lie. The Trump base, which is the white, non-college educated, non-college degreed individuals, have massive leads over Kamala Harris and the Democrats. So they're going to try and sell this abortion story. And she really went after it yesterday in New Hampshire, trying to really push this as this is Donald Trump's mission. Never mind Donald Trump's talking about making America healthy again, making America strong again, making America wealthy again, making America great again. He's not talking about making America abortion-free again. But if you listen to Kamala Harris, you'd think that's what he's doing.
Now, in more than 20 states in our nation, there is a Trump abortion ban.
Is there a Trump abortion ban in 20 states? Is there legislation that's called the Trump abortion ban? That's a load of Bravo Sierra.
Many with no exceptions, even for rape and incest, which is immoral. Immoral.
I don't want to be lectured by Kamala Harris about morals and morality. I'm just saying. Donald Trump has come out on a regular basis and talked about the fact that he supports exceptions for rape and incest. But never mind the truth. You can come out and say whatever you want if you're a candidate. This is flat out disinformation, misinformation.
And if he wins, you can be sure Donald Trump will go further. And he will sign a national abortion ban.
Never mind that he said he won't. Never mind that he said it on multiple occasions on major network news outlets. Never mind that. You just go ahead and spin whatever you want.
And you know, Project 2025, which I mean, can you believe they put that thing in writing?
Well, first of all, Donald Trump has already said that's not his project. So you can say whatever you want, but you're lying to people.
And under Project 2025, he would create a national anti-abortion coordinator.
Wait a minute. An anti-abortion czar? Is that... Does anyone in this crowd believe it? You listen to the crowd, they're kind of like, wait, what did you just say? That Trump's going to create an anti-abortion coordinator? She actually said that. Yeah, this is Kamala.
Under Project 2025, he would create a national anti-abortion coordinator, which would force states. I mean, this is unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it is unbelievable. This is fiction. The networks covering your campaign should be posting the fact-checking on this. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be nice?
Which would force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. You know what they are making really quite clear? They just don't trust women. They just don't trust women.
Oh, this old line. The idea that Donald Trump would create an anti-abortion czar who would then go in and track miscarriages. The ridiculousness of this. It's just laughable. Kamala Harris talking about Donald Trump and abortion is so filled with mistruths, with lies, that it should be covered. Somebody should cover this. But it was her last statement on this topic, and this was a pretty interesting address she gave yesterday in New Hampshire. By the way, thank you, Barbara, who sent me pictures of the buses, the many buses that came from out of state with very excited Kamala Harris supporters yesterday. They bussed in a crowd. I wonder if they were paid. Maybe they got money to go to a casino, too. Who knows? But Kamala's last statement on this subject was really the one that made me literally laugh out loud. You got to pay attention to this. The very last part of this is so critical.
And let us agree, and I know we do, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her what to do with her body.
Yeah, the crowd led to cheer on that one, that the government, according to Kamala Harris, has no business telling a person what to do with their body as it relates to their health. I'm old enough to remember when people were tossed out of their jobs, when people were told they couldn't go to work, when people were told they couldn't go to worship unless they got a government-approved injection. The hypocrisy. Maybe we call it hypocrisy. Let's go back to the old portmanteau. The hypocrisy, the hypocritical irony is just off the scale here. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. We have a little more from Kamala. We have more from Trump. We have more on the subject of what's happening in Georgia today, the day after the shooting. We will take a break. We'll come back and go to the phones because the phones are still blowing up today. It's an important topic Thursday. Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant. He returns tomorrow right here on The Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka, that's me, sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. He returns tomorrow to kick off your weekend. Just doing a quick scan of some of the polling during the break. There is a bakery in the Philadelphia suburbs which has election cookies on sale. You can buy a Trump cookie or a Harris cookie, and their current tally... And we don't know if some people voted more than once, because you could have more than one cookie, is Trump 2,673 cookies to Harris 291 cookies. So in terms of the cookie poll, Trump is crushing it. But again, we don't know if somebody had more than one cookie. You know, could be like mail-in ballots, just saying. The hot topic of the day, in addition to the election, is the shooting outside of Atlanta at a high school where 4 people died, many others injured by a crazed 14-year-old who is in custody. And everybody's weighing in with answers, what we think are answers. And I just want to hear from some of you, because so many of you have taken time to weigh in on this. Let us go first to line 2, to Jeff in Herndon, Virginia. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Mike. Well, it's always a pleasure, and thank you so much for putting me on. Hey, I just wanted to add to your great conversation about the shootings and all that. I mean, it is absolutely a theme in this country and probably across the world, you know, that we have lost the ability to have, you know, that balance of accountability and consequence for your action on the one hand, that's the
sure.
stick, but the carrot, which is the, you know, the excitement and the thrill of that success, which parents have no patience for in a lot of cases. I mean, I watch this, you know, like COVID, where parents could have easily had their kids out in the yard. We had schools closing the yard. We had parents, you know, putting kids on their laptops, and thinking this is okay. They were convinced by the society this is okay. I got like a four-part remedy for this. Get the technology out of the hands of the kids. Just say no to cell phones in school. That doesn't take a lot of courage unless you're trying to face down. But except for in Fairfax County, where you got to face down the Chardonnay liberal moms and dads who just absolutely, that spacious argument that you put forward. Oh my, in case there's a school shooting. So get the technology out. Get more order in making kids achieve the success, stick with them while they're trying to quit in the middle of a success, and get them to the success. That takes a ton of patience in the first, but eventually they get a taste for success and they start feeling great about themselves. Number three, we got to get on a program of women who, we got to help women understand starting and out having children with no idea, no thought to having a father in the house. And I've run across this far too often, starting about 20 years ago, because my kids are about 20, and I've met a lot of, run around the parent circles. I was amazed to have met a number of women who are just absolutely going to get pregnant without a father, and they're going to raise this kid on their own, so nobody can tell them they're wrong.
Right.
And no idea. I mean, these are not well people either. Half of them thought better ways.
Jeff, you're hitting on really some. I'm not saying this with any insulting tone. These are obvious themes that we need to address. And I saw that one of the themes you brought up was mentoring and the lack of mentoring. And I thank you for your call. I do think it's really important. We're trying to get mentoring back in the lives of these kids. And if you believe in mentoring, you should be mentoring someone, even if it's just one kid. You can change it. I want to try and grab one more here. Line 7 is Missy. Missy, you came from the school system and a security officer at the schools?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to weigh in because I'll give you a different perspective. I am not an SRO, or I wasn't an SRO. I was part of the security personnel. So I was a security officer, but I enforced school rule. So I had a much bigger arm than the SRO within the school. And I'm so grateful for the SROs because they're the ones that carry. And in the worst case scenarios, they're the ones that are really important. But the first thing that comes to my mind when we're talking about this incident that happened is the accessibility into the school. So if there's multiple doors that are open to allow the students to come in.
The wall is going to get you, Missy. I understand what you're saying. If we funnel the students in through a secure entrance, you can't get in bad stuff. Great point. Thank you for being there. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka, that's me, sitting in for Chris Plant today. He returns tomorrow. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. There are stories galore, and there are crazy clips galore to share with you. We also have some news that we're following. It was a couple days ago that the United States grabbed the Venezuelan version of Air Force One. We snagged the plane of the president of Venezuela because I guess it violated, the plane violated some of the ban on selling to Venezuela technology like this airplane. So the plane was seized and flown to Florida, where it is currently being held. And then yesterday we get word that a member of the American Navy has been snatched up off the streets of Venezuela. The State Department doesn't want anybody going to Venezuela. This sailor was not there on Navy business, was not there on any kind of business that we know about. But are we going to be trading a plane for an American service member? I'm just wondering. And who's running the country right now? Is it Biden from his little bitty desk there, his little Robert Reich desk that is in that television studio that you and I built at the White House? Don't understand why he's not doing business from the Oval Office or from the myriad rooms in which previous presidents have had plenty of ability to do their speechifying from. I just don't get it. It's about control. I know. And then there is the story that broke yesterday, about this time. We got word that the DOJ was indicting a Tennessee company that it claimed was in the pocket of Russia, of both Russia Today and the Russian government, which I guess is Russia Today. It's like saying Chinese media. It's the Chinese government. Same thing. That this Tennessee-based company was bankrolling pro-Trump media outlets, mostly influencers on social media. Names you might know: Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, people that are in the public eye. Benny's got like over 2.5 million subscribers on Twitter X. Pool's got well over 2 million subscribers. They're generally pro-Trump in all of their posts. And the DOJ was talking about election interference, and that this was proof that Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win the election. This was proof in spades. Now, Tim Pool and Benny Johnson have both put out statements saying that they were victims here, and that if anybody tries to say that they were colluding, that they'll hear from their lawyers. They'll get a good legal talking to. But it may be the case. We don't know. It's just starting. But Putin was asked about it, and the subject came up on CNN this morning, too. And this proved to be a pretty interesting just line of questioning. So this was very early this morning on CNN. We watched so you don't have to. And they were discussing the story and playing some of Putin's responses, and then brought one of Kamala's people in to comment on this. Let's walk through this. Casey Hunt on CNN.
A different subject before I let you go. The Department of Justice yesterday came out and said that the Russians are trying to interfere in the election in part by funding a media company that's behind some right-wing names that have, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers on some of these YouTube platforms. And then we actually heard from Vladimir Putin in just the last hour or two talking about the U.S. election. I want to play for you what he had to say and then ask you about it on the other side. He spoke in Russian, but the English translation is there. Watch.
As for the favorites, there is no need to define that. It's a choice by the people of America in the end. I've said that our so-to-say favorite was the acting president, Mr. Biden. He's been taken out of the race, but he advised all his supporters to support Mrs. Harris. That's what we'll do. We'll support her as well. That's the first thing. Secondly, her laugh is so expressive and infectious. That means that she's doing well.
Now, I'm listening to this, and I got to believe that the second thing there, when Putin says her laugh is so expressive, he's got to be mocking. So that tells me he might be lying about the Biden thing, too. I think this is Putin jerking everybody's chain. Very interesting that he said, no, we were for Biden. Well, why wouldn't you be for Biden? Because Biden, he might have some ties to the old mayor of Moscow. There have been some deals made in the past, and you've been pretty much allowed to do what you wanted to do. Remember when Joe said, as long as you don't do a major thing in Ukraine, we're okay with it. And here we are almost 3.5 years later. There's a little more here.
Ian, Vladimir Putin calls her laugh infectious, says that she is doing well and that he supports her. What do you, as the campaign, say back to Mr. Putin?
I mean, yeah, Ian, you just got the endorsement of Vladimir Putin. Your campaign, they love her laugh. What do you say, Ian Sams?
Well, first, I want to say I think we reject any foreign interference in this election at all, on any side from any country. This is an American election, and the vice president feels very, very strongly that only the American people should be deciding who is the next president of the United States, and any effort from foreign actors to interfere is completely inappropriate.
Now, before he goes any further, Kamala Harris is against any, and when you say any, you mean all, foreign interference in the election. Would you go so far as to say you would like to prevent anyone other than U.S. citizens from voting in the election? Because that would kind of go a long way to securing the election. I'm just saying. If you want to make sure the election's secure, then you would support the SAFE Act, which is trying to get attached. The Republicans are trying to attach the SAFE Act to a spending bill so that Democrats will have to support it. The SAFE Act won't let anyone other than American citizens vote in the election. I guess that's kind of what he's saying, but he's not saying it because they won't say it. What else does he have to say about this endorsement of Kamala Harris by Vladimir Putin?
Obviously, the administration will speak to their actions yesterday. I think everybody knows who dictators and bullies around the world prefer in this election. They prefer President Trump.
Now, you just heard Vladimir Putin say that he preferred Biden. So how can you say that they prefer President Trump? How are you even allowed to say that? You got it coming out of Putin's mouth. You don't believe it?
We reject the kind of divisive dictatorial leadership that are being offered from people like President Putin. Obviously, his invasion of Ukraine was horrible, and the vice president has been a leader with the president rallying the world against it. I'm not going to play too much psyops with the Russian president here on your show this morning, but I think that anybody who's been paying attention for the last decade knows where President Putin stands in the election and who his preferred candidate is, regardless of what he may say.
Sure, that's what you're thinking.
Have you ever seen such a useful mini chainsaw?
Go away here. Putin prefers who? Well, in his own words, he said it was Kamala Harris. But then again, in the same sentence, he said he was a fan of her laugh. He thought her laugh was really great. This story about the Russian money flowing into a company in Tennessee and then being distributed to predominantly conservative media outlets, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool. There's another one that's associated with theblaze.com, apparently. So we shall see where this goes. They're all seem to be saying that we had no idea. We had a discussion, an agreement with what we thought was a media company. And we did not know that it was a Russian disinformation campaign. They were discussing, and they've said this in some of the cases, they were discussing stories that they would focus on their sites. Tim Pool's note is pretty clear. Tim Pool wrote on his Timcast Twitter account, should these allegations prove true, which is the way to start because they're just allegations, I, as well as other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. Okay. There you go. Do we believe them? That's a good question. Benny Johnson, as I mentioned, also posted his response to the announcement, saying a year ago, a media startup pitched my company to provide content as an independent contractor. Our lawyer negotiated a standard arm's length deal, which was later terminated. Now, we should probably know when it was terminated and why, Benny. We think we should make that clear. There should be transparency here. So I hope there will be transparency here. But Benny is claiming that he's a victim as well. Now, the left-leaning media is leaping on this, absolutely leaning on this. Mother Jones, a really far-left group, has a headline reading, new indictment alleges conservative media took millions of Kremlin cash. I wonder where this Mother Jones was in the reporting of the millions that went from the Kremlin, that went from the mayor of Moscow's wife to Hunter Biden. that went from the Ukrainian oligarchs to Hunter Biden, that went from Chinese Communist Party members to Hunter Biden. None of that is mentioned here, of course. It's all a one-way street. We'll see what happens. But Dave Rubin is brought up in this. There are several others who are, I guess, considered reliably conservative outlets on social media. The indictment was filed. We'll see where it goes. If they're victims, they're victims. And how could you know that a company that presents itself as a Tennessee company was anything other than that? It's a very interesting story, but what I have questions about is the timing. 60 days out of an election, you now suddenly have Russia coming forward. It's the Russian collusion case again. I'm old enough to remember when the mainstream media lost its mind over Donald Trump and what they called Russian collusion. It wasn't that long ago, and they all were obsessed.
This cloud about collusion with Russia will hang over him no matter where he stands.
It does look like he's listening to Putin more than he is American intelligence.
We're about to find out if the new president of our country is going to do what Russia wants. The presidency is effectively a Russian op.
The president is a Russian operative. The U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
It is so obviously a Russian operation.
Hunter Biden, this laptop that intelligence officials have warned is likely Russian disinformation.
Ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
Ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
Every single one of the biggest names on CNN and MSNBC was drooling on themselves as they were trying to create a story that Donald Trump was a Russian agent, that the Hunter Biden laptop was a creation of Russia to smear the Biden family and the campaign. And now we know it was all true. Every bit of it. So are we to believe this situation or not? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm very suspicious of everything that comes out of the DOJ these days. Doesn't mean everything's wrong. I just think there has to be a healthy amount of skepticism on each and every one of these. So much more to get to today. You're welcome to join the conversation. Of course, 888-630-9625 is the number. Did you know Liz Cheney endorsed someone yesterday? Who do you think she endorsed? Liz Cheney. Did she endorse Kamala Harris? Did she endorse Donald Trump? Did she endorse Robert Kennedy Jr., even though he suspended his campaign, but Democrats want him on ballots because it'll hurt Trump? Who did Liz Cheney endorse? We'll share the clip with you just around the corner. It's Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. It is The Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant today. He'll be back for Friday. Kicking off your weekend, going over all the crazy news. I teased this earlier, just before we went away, that Liz Cheney, remember her? She used to be a Republican. She still says she is. But she was at the Sanford School of Public Policy at Duke University and talking to folks yesterday when she endorsed someone for president, and nobody was surprised.
Because we're here in North Carolina, I think it is crucially important for people to recognize not only is what I just said about the danger that Trump poses something that should prevent people from voting for him. But I don't believe that we have the luxury of writing in candidates' names, particularly in swing states. And as a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this, And because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris.
So a standing ovation. They leapt to their feet and applauded Liz Cheney for her declaration that she cannot vote for Donald Trump because of the danger of Donald Trump and all of the danger he brings with the possibility that he will be back in office. But what about what Liz Cheney said not too long ago when she was still a member of Congress? Wasn't that long ago? It was less than 4 years ago. Liz Cheney was talking about Kamala Harris. She said this.
As somebody who is a centrist, and in one fell swoop here, he has put somebody on the ticket whose voting record in the Senate is to the left of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
So this is Cheney after Kamala was named Biden's running mate. So she, back in 2020, was pointing out that Kamala Harris was left of Bernie Sanders. Maybe she sees some positivity back then.
So I think that, the American people are going to look at the substance of this. They're going to look at what she stood for in the past. They're going to look at what she said during the primary election. And it's very clear. She is a radical liberal. She's somebody that has said we ought to spend $32 trillion on Medicare for all. If you look at her record as well in California, she did, in fact, essentially ban gun sales with executive action. And she threatened during the primaries to do the same thing if she's elected, if she faced.
Yeah. So what happened? What virus hit Liz Cheney's brain that she could call Kamala Harris left of Bernie Sanders and recognize that she wants to ban all guns and confiscate guns? And now she's so terrified of Donald Trump, no matter what he did in the first 4 years of his first term, that she is endorsing Kamala Harris. And she went to a swing state to do it. Very interesting. Very interesting story. Let me grab one quick call before we wrap up this hour. Joe is in Dundee, Illinois. Hello, Joe. There's not much time left, but you've got the floor.
Michael, we can thank the Jews for taking out the guy that was responsible for killing 200 American service members and 48 Canadians in Lebanon. And I believe that the United States should be acting more like the Jews.
That's interesting. I've got my IDF shirt on today. We'll talk more about all of this next hour.